It's Clemency's turn, isn't it? Hey, okay, let's explain something before we go any further. I'm temporarily serving as chairman today. Good luck to all of y'all. Okay, so is it Miss Clemency's turn?
I'll do it.
Miss Clemency's going to do it. She's better at it anyway.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful Tuesday morning. Please be with us. Please be with the students and the staff of Levy County as we finish out this school year. And let everything that we do in the remainder of this meeting be done in your name. In the Lord's holy name, amen.
Amen.
Let's address the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, at this time, I'll accept a motion to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Like to welcome everybody here today. It's a good-looking crew. Like I said, I am filling in temporarily for Miss Boyle today, so bear with me. I'm out of practice at this. There is no telling what's going to happen today. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent, who has some highlights he wants to share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Natalie Cooey, our middle school FFA advisor, to come forward, and she's going to introduce. So we've got some students here that are going to be moving on, and so I'll let her share.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We are preparing for our state FFA convention in June. And so Williston has several students and teams competing at for state championships. I brought 3 of our speakers today, but Williston Middle has a conduct team, which is parliamentary procedures and the middle school opening and closing ceremonies contest merged together. So the kids will present a meeting from start to finish. So they open the meeting like we do at our FFA meetings. They run a business meeting and then they close it up. So our middle school and our junior chapter both have teams competing in that for the state title. So we're taking 2 teams there. Peyton, who's going to present first in just a second, is doing the FFA Creed competition. And so the FFA Creed is a 5-paragraph document that they memorize and present. So he won districts, and so he's in the top 12 for the state and will compete there. We have a new contest in Florida FFA this year. It's the Spanish Creed speaking contest. It's a contest that's been done in other states like Texas, and then there's been a national contest for the last 3 or 4 years. And so this year is the first year that they've opened it up to Florida, and so we're having an invitational Spanish Creed speaking contest, and Neymar's here to present that to you as well. We also have a junior chapter Spanish Creed speaker, so we have 2 from Williston that will be representing our county at state convention. Mabry Whitehurst is here today also to speak. She is the district winner for prepared public speaking, and so she's going to present her speech today to you. That contest is pretty straightforward. They present their speech. They're graded on their delivery of the speech. They're graded on their manuscript that we submitted back in April, and then she will entertain questions from the judges. And then our high school, our senior chapter, has several students that are competing in their SAE contest, so their proficiency applications. We have 5 of those that are finalists, and so on Thursday of state convention, we find out if they won those applications. So a lot of exciting things happening with Williston FFA. But like I said, we have 3 that wanted to present today to practice their speeches or their creed. So Peyton Bateman is going to go first. He is doing the English creed, or the creed in English. And you're welcome to ask questions because that's something that we're working on. So the questions for creed are about the meaning of the creed, what it means to them, how they interpret different lines. So feel free to jot down questions if you'd like to ask questions. He's like, please be nice. And then Neymar is going to present the creed in Spanish, and it's the exact same creed. It's just translated for her. And then she will entertain questions in English if you guys would like to ask her questions as well. And then Mabry will be our final speaker. Thank you.
The FFA Creed by E.M. Tiffany.
I believe in the future of agriculture, with a faith born not of words, but of deeds. Achievements won by the present and past generations of agriculturists. In the promise of better days through better ways, even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us from the struggles of former years. I believe that to live and work on a good farm, or to be engaged in other agricultural pursuits, is pleasant as well as challenging, for I know the joys and discomforts of agricultural life, and hold an inborn fondness for those associations which, even in hours of discouragement, I cannot deny. I believe in leadership from ourselves and respect from others. I believe in my own ability to work efficiently and think clearly, with such knowledge and skill as I can secure, and in the ability of progressive agriculturists to serve our own and the public interests in producing and marketing the product of our toil. I believe in less dependence on begging and more power in bargaining, in the life abundant and enough honest wealth to help make it so, for others as well as myself, in less need for charity and more of it when needed, in being happy myself, in playing square with those whose happiness depends upon me. I believe that American agriculture can and will hold true to the best traditions of our national life, and that I can exert an influence in my home and community, which will stand solid for my part in that inspiring task. Thank you.
Good job.
Good job, Peyton.
How many hours did it take you to memorize? Weeks, months?
So we had a competition in our school. I was competing against another girl to go to sub-districts. So I learned about it, and it took me a week to memorize, and then I had to learn like the history and all about FFA, so I could answer the questions accordingly to like what the FFA stands for and what the creed means. So it kind of took me a week to memorize, but it's taken me until now to still understand the creed and interpret it to answer questions. So
What's your favorite line and why?
my favorite line in the FFA creed is the first line, I believe in the future of agriculture. The first line means so much to not only the history of agriculture, but the future too. Without believing in the future of agriculture, agriculture could get nowhere. As we know, agriculture is the second biggest economic factor in Florida, right below tourism. This shows that agriculture is not only important to Florida, but important to all the other states and overall our union. So I think for these reasons, my favorite line is the first line in the first paragraph, because it marks something true in agriculture.
When was it adopted?
It was adopted in 1920. It was written in 1929 and adopted in 1930.
Have there been any revisions?
There's been 2 revisions at the 63rd and I want to say 39th national convention.
What were the revisions?
Oh, man, wow.
The revision of the 63rd, it changed rural America to American agriculture, and it changed the word farmers to agriculturists, because as the FFA has gotten more diverse, we've had to change the wording to make it more for everyone, because FFA is not just agriculture. It's public speaking, and there's CDs and LDs, which is leadership and making careers, and it just helps you with so many skills that aren't just used in farming.
It's true. Yeah, that's true. That's great.
Good job,
You
Peyton.
thought he wouldn't get it. Good job.
So NAOR is nervous about her questions because we just learned of the Spanish Creed about a month and a half ago. And she's an FFA member this year for the first time, so she kind of jumped on very quickly and learned the Creed very quickly. And she wants questions, but she's still working on developing the background knowledge like Peyton's done all year.
There's
She's
no
had a month
pressure.
while he's had a year.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know what you're saying at all, so there's no
Yeah.
pressure.
We don't have to ask it in Spanish, do we?
Yeah.
See,
Oh, no.
El credo de la FCA por EMC. Creo en el futuro de la agricultura, con una fe que no nace de las palabras, sino de los hechos. Logros conseguidos por las generaciones presentes y pasadas de agricultores, en la promesa de días mejores a través de mejores maneras. Así como creo que las mejores cosas que las que usamos hoy han llegado a nosotros como resultado de las luchas de años anteriores. Creo que vivir y trabajar en una buena finca o dedicarse a otras actividades agrícolas es agradable y al mismo tiempo es un reto, porque conozco las alegrías e el cumplimiento de la vida agrícola y mantengo beneficios de nada por aquellas asociaciones que no le negaré, ni siquiera en horas de esta lista. Creo en nuestro propio liderazgo y en el respeto a los demás. Creo en mi propia capacidad de trabajar de manera eficiente y pensar con claridad, con cuántos conocimientos y habilidades puede adquirir y la capacidad de los agricultores progresistas para recibir nuestros propios intereses y el interés público en la producción y comercialización del producto de nuestro trabajo. Creo en menos dependencia de la calidad y más poder en la negociación, en la vida abundante y en que haya suficiente riqueza honesta para ayudar a que así sea, tanto para los demás como para mí, sin necesidad de calidad y más de ella cuando sea necesario. Creo en ser feliz, en ser más honesto, con la que cuya felicidad depende de mí. Creo que la agricultura de Estados Unidos puede y debe mantenerse fiel a las mejores tradiciones de nuestra vida nacional y que puedo ejercer influencia en mi hogar y en la comunidad que se mantendrá firme por mi parte en esta inspiradora tarea. Gracias.
This is your first year in FFA?
So ask her the questions in English?
If you want to ask the question.
No.
English is all right.
There you go. What does the phrase "better days do better ways" mean to you?
It means to me that when working harder, we have learned better ways, and it has become easier for us to work. Back then, it would take us hours to plow fields, but now with all the technologies that we have, it's become easier.
How long did it take you to memorize that? I'll give you an
It
easy
took me
question.
about 3 weeks, I would say, because for Spanish, there's a lot of different movements, and you have to say it differently. And then in English, you'd say it like I believe, but in Spanish, it doesn't sound right if you're saying creo. So you have to like put it smoothly together.
Your inflection was, even not seeing your face, but just listening to you, it was very nice.
very
I like
Very
the way
nice.
it sounded.
Yeah, it is.
I like the
tone,
flow
yeah.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard when, I don't know if anybody understood anything, so it's hard to
Oh.
speak that type of, to people that don't really know what you're saying and to keep going. So good job.
Good
I
job.
trust you did it right.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to you?
To me, it means a big family. With Creed, I wasn't always aware of everything, and I didn't know everything about agriculture. So the Creed has really taught me what to do and how to live my life. Because the Creed shows us a rubric to how to act and how to behave with others.
Okay. Very good.
Very good.
did Senora help?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Rosario is her coach.
Gotcha.
Good job.
Good job.
Is she not a natural Spanish speaking person? Oh, is Spanish not a primary language for you? Is that you just picked this up?
Spanish is one of my primary languages. I speak it at home a lot, but I speak mostly English, but I do know Spanish.
Okay.
But there's different dialects of Spanish too, so we had to follow the way it was translated for Florida FFA. So it was a little different than the Spanish she speaks at home, so we had to, that's where Ms. Rosario comes in and she can help us with the pronunciation and how to say things correctly.
Gotcha.
You said translate for Florida FFA, so is there a little different like Texas? Is like a little
So
different
the translation with Florida FFA's Spanish Creed is slightly different than national. So if she wins or gets second place, she advances to the national convention, and we would have to move over to their translation, which is just slightly different.
And it'll
This is
take
kinda
thought.
dialect.
But we'll take that challenge if we can win.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right, that's right, that's right.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Win.
We can do it.
Win,
Win.
win, we
Yeah,
win.
that's right.
We can do it.
You ready? Raver's gonna do hers in English.
That's what's spoken in our house.
I don't know about you, but we are big Chick-fil-A fans in my family. We love it so much that we frequent a restaurant near my hometown quite a bit. Inside ours is a huge picture of Chick-fil-A's founder, Truett Cathy, with this quote inside it that reads, "Food is essential to life. Therefore, make it good." Good morning. My name is Mabry Whitehurst, and I am representing the Williston Middle FFA chapter. Chick-fil-A has nothing to do with my topic today, but Mr. Cathy's quote does. Food is essential to life. Hopefully, we can all agree that Chick-fil-A is ranked #1 when it comes to fast food, but even if we can't agree there, I'm confident we can agree that food is indeed essential to life. That is something we are all born knowing. As infants, we instinctively know we need nourishment for survival. But as we grow and educate ourselves, do we all know where food comes from and how we get it? In the United States, farm and ranch families make up just 2% of the population and are responsible for feeding the other 98%. That slim percentage of people who have first-hand experiences in production agriculture is why agriculture education is more important than ever. In 1850, 72% of the American population worked on farms and ranches. That's almost 3 out of 4 people. Today, it's 2 out of 100. This steady decline has pushed people further and further from production agriculture. For most Americans, it has been 3 to 4 generations since they've lived on farmland. That's a lot of people who lack experience and are therefore unaware of food production. A prime example of this can be seen in the results of a survey taken during National FFA Week last year in my home chapter. 46% of the 6th through 8th grade students surveyed did not know that pickles were made from cucumbers. I'm willing to bet that the percent of those that did know that learned this by making pickles in an ag class the previous year. Agricultural literacy is the basic knowledge and understanding of the agriculture, food, fiber, and natural resource systems. Agriculturally literate people are also able to communicate the value of and identify ag-related issues. Agriculture education is vital to ensure that the next generation is taught about the industry that feeds and clothes them. The global population is expected to increase by 2.2 billion by 2050. With a constantly decreasing number of farmers and ranchers and a constantly increasing number of mouths to feed, we must ensure the public has access to ag education and understands the importance of this industry and the importance of supporting it. Our food supply and food safety depend upon it. In my small home county, of 10 total ag teacher positions, 3 are open. It's a situation we've never experienced before. So why is there an ag teacher shortage? The teacher shortage was brewing even before the COVID-19 pandemic, but it brought the prices out much sooner. There's a national teacher shortage across the board in all grade levels and subject areas for several reasons. For many classroom teachers, the reasons are school violence, burnout, and low pay scales. However, the NAAE, or National Association of Agriculture Educators, reported the greatest contributing factor to the ag teacher shortage was retirement. None of the reported reasons included school violence, burnout, or other negative reasons. I think this shows how fulfilling a career in ag education can be. So what do we do to make sure the ag teacher shortage doesn't continue? The most important thing we can do is talk about the importance of ag education. We have to speak boldly about it and advocate for it. As FFA members, we have to share experiences with our peers and encourage them to take an ag class and join the FFA. My home chapter works hard to promote the industry in our association by hosting ag literacy days at our local elementary schools. We plan a program for younger students that educates them and showcases opportunities available to them in the FFA. My home chapter is also an affiliate chapter, meaning every ag student is also an FFA member. This year, all across the state of Florida, special funding has made it possible for all schools to do the same, but this is something we've been prioritizing for years. The more people we inspire, the more voices we will have to join us. As more students see all the diverse opportunities in this industry, the more ag literate they will become, and hopefully will be inspired to maybe someday become ag teachers themselves. In closing, I hope you see the importance of teaching ag education and in stopping the teacher shortage crisis. Mr. Cathy said it best. Food is essential to life, and ag teachers are essential to education and the industry. So let's make an effort to spread the word that the world needs more ag teachers. Thank you.
Good job.
Great job.
Mabry, how did you choose that topic?
I chose this topic because, as I said in my speech, in our home county, there is 10 total ag teacher positions, but 3 of them are open. So I know this is a problem, and I know that I mean, Miss Cooey, I love her so much. Ag teachers are so good, but they can help us, like this 2%. I'm hoping that if we can inspire those ag teachers, we can raise that up and maybe stop this.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite board member?
How many times have you heard this?
Wow.
Let's make it real easy. How about a favorite superintendent? So that way,
So were your parents in FFA? Of course. Now, have they helped you at all? Did they help you with your FFA stuff? Okay. I know she referenced your family. And your mother, I'm sure she's helped you. She was an outstanding FFA member, wasn't she? Where was she a member? Do you know? There you go. Thank you. She was absconded by that character from Williston. And produced these super children that are fantastic.
I'm sorry. Mabry, what do you want to be when you grow up?
So I want to be an ag teacher because I think
Good
that,
answer.
yeah, like I said in my last question, like we can bring this teacher shortage to an end. And I think just educating these students, you know, just spreading the word about agriculture is really important.
Here.
You can correct your mother's errors by coming back and being an ag teacher in Bronson. I know people. Get that education. I know some people. We'll see what we can do.
Maybe I would connect that response that you just had to Ms. Bergen's question about how you picked your topic. I really feel like you want to be an ag teacher is part of your inspiration. So I would connect those things together. Because someone's going to ask you that. They have to ask you that question because it's such a cool topic. So I would connect your inspiration to that. It's really good.
You did a great job.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you.
Good deal.
Peyton, you got high individual in something also, didn't you? Was it you that got, was it farm business management or something? Didn't he get high?
We didn't do farm business.
Oh.
That
what
is
about-
Ford, Bryce, Estella,
But,
Okay, I thought he was something.
With our conduct teams, we had Estella Joe Fugit and Will Conquest. One from each team have a perfect score on their tests, so they're high individuals for those.
Gotcha.
I want to compliment. I can only compliment two. You did an amazing job. So that's the first time I've seen you speak. But for the other two, I've had the pleasure of getting to see them speak as they've gone through the process of this, and I'm just blown away at how much the two of you have grown. So I look forward to the same thing for you, because you guys, you three did amazing. So proud of you.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Compliments to Ms. Cooey.
Yes.
She always pushing,
Always.
every year having these kids compete for state It shows her dedication to her job.
Thank y'all for coming. Would y'all mind getting a picture with your second favorite school board member? I love the way you just played that on. Okay. Come up here and get your picture taken. Y'all did a great job. Got to clear out spots for the trophies, I think. That way. That way.
Neighbor's cute.
She gets that from her mama and brother.
That's it, that's it.
Yes.
She does look like a mama.
It's a long speech.
Yeah, really long speech.
That was a long speech.
It's very nice.
You did good.
Try to do 25 to 6 minutes.
How much?
If y'all want to hang out, you're welcome to, but at this time, if you want to go ahead and go, it's okay,
They'd
'cause
probably rather be here than school, but we'll go.
Right.
we got things to do.
Yeah,
Good job,
Graham.
guys. You
Yeah.
did great. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming.
Yeah.
You.
Good enough. Let me see you.
All right, we will, hey, I really did think they did. She's good, she's good.
Thank you.
I don't care if she doesn't think you're her favorite school board member.
She
Okay,
gets a lot from Annie.
we will call Miss Rollins up at this time.
I'm the lucky one that gets to come after that. Always have the best timing.
Oh,
Okay.
do it in Spanish.
I'm going to disappoint you there for sure. Well, good morning. I am bringing to you today for your approval the K-12 Comprehensive Evidence-Based Reading Plan for 24-25 for board approval today. So this is our second time with the new way of work, which is the K-12 plan now has to be board approved before it's submitted to the state. So just kind of dusting that off in your brain that this is our annual plan that we write every year that guides basically anything to do with literacy in our county, how we are going to approach assessment, curriculum, instruction, all of those key pieces to moving our students forward. So that's what this plan is all about. Go ahead, Morgan. We write a budget that's attached to this. Remember the big change last year was this is no longer a categorical. This is a part of the student-based allocation, and then our wonderful director of finance carves us out a certain portion that she's been so gracious to continue to give us a comparable portion to what we were used to having. And then this kind of just shows you a breakdown. As you can see, the majority of the budget goes directly to supporting reading coach salaries, to put reading coaches in each one of our schools. And I don't think there's a better way to spend the money. So that's what you see there reflected in that 73%. It is coming down a little bit this year because you will see the secondary amount increased a little bit, and that's because Chicopee Middle High is in a little bit of a in-between year. As far as Michelle Crawford is retiring this year, and they're converting that position to more of an interventionist position. So that we're kind of helping them in this transition, and so that secondary amount reflects an interventionist role that we're kind of helping to support as they transition down to one coach, which will be a big transition for them. The other portions of the budget are totally connected to curriculums, summer camp, things that we use to support intensive reading on the middle school, high school side, and some other miscellaneous expenditures there. Go ahead. The plan is definitely connected to data. I know Melissa is chomping at the bit to share with you end of year data, so I'm going to steal a little bit of her thunder today by sharing just a sneak peek on the ELA side. Anything in green is showing an improvement from last year. So that is something to note. Pre-K is maintaining a very high amount of proficiency there. But anything in green, so kindergarten, 2nd, and 5th through 10th, all increased in proficiency this year in ELA. 3rd and 1st grade were literally 1% shy of an increase, so they were extremely close. The only grade level that we need to dig into and kind of investigate a little bit is 4th grade. 4th grade took a dip for us. And no other grade levels really took a dip because 3rd and 1st are very, very close to almost maintaining. It's literally off by 1 or 2%. So fourth grade's the only one to really dig into. So I'm celebrating a great deal, specifically on the secondary side, because moving those numbers has been difficult. So I'm excited to see. We obviously still have a lot of work to do, but I'm very excited to see the needle start to move on the secondary side. Go ahead. The K-12 plan emphasizes the use of school literacy leadership teams on the school level, and who makes up those teams are the administrator, the coach, lead teachers. Ideally, every team would have a media specialist in it, but we are not in a place to include those on every campus. We do have a couple that do get included, but in those districts where every school has a media specialist, they're obviously included on those leadership teams. But these teams are meant to guide the data analysis, the planning, the instruction on every individual campus. In Levy County, that looks a lot like those lead teams, because we have teams that function in lots of different capacities because we're small but mighty. So there's not necessarily a team that this is their only job, but there's definitely a team who's looking at literacy on every campus. Go ahead. The plan also identifies how we progress monitor. So we progress monitor using a variety of assessments. So no huge changes on the assessment front this year. Of course, we underwent that huge shift last year. So we're still monitoring all of the data that we're getting from iReady, FAST, which is both STAR and the Cambium assessment in 3rd through 10th, our ELL students with Imagine Literacy on the elementary side, and just some common assessments that we collect. We analyze that data on a district level, school level. Reading coaches, we look at that data together every quarter, and we're closely trying to pinpoint the needs of our campuses district-wide. Okay. Same thing on a 6 through 12 side, just kind of replace iReady with iExcel. So you probably have heard that language before, hopefully. We did initiate a new program this year on the middle school intensive reading side, which is Lexia Power Up, and I do think that that is going to take some of the credit for some of the movement that we've seen. I think it's been a very effective program for our struggling readers in middle school, specifically the better the user, meaning the higher level usage of the teacher, the better the program has performed for students. So I'm going to continue to hopefully champion that program. And its counterpart is Lexia English, which we're using with any ELL students who come to us on the secondary side who still have some language acquisition to do. So we've seen some good results there as well. Go ahead. We have to outline how we monitor the K-12 plan. It's a tall order from the state, but they expect our administrators to be walking through literacy instruction weekly. So that's a lot of a load for an administrator, but they do attempt to do so. Our reading coaches are a big part of how we monitor the K-12 plan, and then the data that we collect and that we monitor are also how we monitor the use of the plan. Go ahead. Reading coaches are very much so embedded into the plan. That's where most of our salaries come from, but we have to basically sign on the dotted line how we use our reading coaches and what qualities they maintain. The big things from the state are that they have to have a reading endorsement and they have to be rated highly effective. And of course, all of our people fall into that category. I'm happy to report that I don't think, other than Michelle Crawford retiring, I don't think we're going to have any changes in the reading coach land next year. This past year, we had a lot of changes. Miss Linda left me and decided to retire, which was good. But we missed her. So we had a change at Cedar Key. We had a change at Wilson Elementary. We had changes across the board. So we're excited, hopefully, to have a year of status quo in the area of who are our coaches. Go ahead, Morgan. We have to basically say that when we are paying for a reading coach, that they spend the majority of their time coaching. That is the goal. It's a continual struggle because there are a lot of reasons that pull on the time of a coach, but we continue to try to keep that front and center. Go ahead. The plan also talks about what we're going to do for professional development. So big things for us for 24-25. A huge thing that we did this past year that we're going to continue doing is the development of the coaches themselves. So we had a coach cadre both with math coaches, reading coaches, and actually our AVID site coordinator. So we came together and did some development together, and we're going to maintain that moving forward. It was very positive and actually directly impacted explicit instruction. So explicit instruction continues to be a main focus for us as a district outside of literacy, but literacy included. So that is at the forefront of our plan. We always identify model classrooms and mentor teachers on each of our campuses and use them to help support the development of others. Writing is going to be a big one this coming year. We just took the first writing test. So this was the baseline year. So once that data comes back, which I don't know what the timeline is for that, we will have something to look at so we know what we need to work on. So without having that, it's been kind of a moving target. So we're excited to have some data to look at to actually develop moving forward in the area of writing. We know that it's a need. We kind of know what the data is already going to say. Our students struggle with writing, so we have a lot of work to do. And when we kind of trace that back root cause analysis, it's because our teachers are not particularly comfortable, a lot of them sometimes, in teaching writing, especially that text-based writing. So we have some development to do across the board. It's a tough topic altogether. Go ahead. Two other huge things that'll be new this year. Secondary ELA, we attribute some of the success that we're seeing on the secondary side to some very intentional planning structures, and that is something called backwards planning. So literally starting from what is the result we want to see and walk an entire unit of instruction backwards and plan day-by-day instruction. So paying teachers to have time to do that because it requires a lot of time. It's not fly by the seat of your pants planning. It's very in-depth and takes a lot of time and effort. So giving them some space to do that. So kind of carving out some money for that and carving out some time for that for them as well. Continuing to develop our intensive reading teachers, and then we're going to be in year 2 of the Science of Reading implementation with U-Fly Foundations. It's our new phonics program. So we have year 1 was great across the board. Have some things we need to continue to work on and improve for year 2, so that's going to be a huge focus for us moving forward as well. Go ahead. Pre-K is included in the K-12 plan, so Becky Childs contributes to that portion of the plan and outlines how they use Start Early Literacy, how they focus on their standards, the curriculum that they use, all of the above. Go ahead, Lyndon. We have to assure that we're addressing all the areas of reading, those 6 components, every type of assessment, screening, progress monitoring, diagnostic, summative, and how we're addressing the 3 tiers. Everyone, tier 1, a little bit extra tier 2, and intensive supports for tier 3. And how we do that through decision trees and guiding the supports that our students receive. All right, go ahead. We also have to assure that every student in Levy County gets 90 uninterrupted minutes of reading instruction. In Levy County, we give them 120. 90 is always uninterrupted, and sometimes the 30 get separated out, but they always have 120 minutes. So our kids are very fortunate, because that's not true in a lot or even most districts in the state of Florida. Go ahead. And then I already mentioned decision trees are basically we take the data and we say if a student performs this way, here are the supports that we're going to provide for them. So it's very specific and prescriptive, and we have to outline the interventions that we use. And those interventions have to be evidence-based. The state has already looked at our draft, and they are after very specific things right now in the area of intervention. They all have to be based on the science of reading, and if anything smells even slightly of something different than the science of reading, then they're going to push back on it. So we only had 1 program that we needed to take a look at, but other than that, everything else was smooth sailing. So go ahead. We have to identify students with a substantial reading deficiency, what that looks like, and what plans are sent home for them. Are those individual progress monitoring plans? The state is coming down even further to the area of dyslexia right now. It's another kind of with that science of reading push, dyslexia comes back to the front and center again. So we also in our plan had to identify specifically how we're going to screen for those students who may have signs of dyslexia. All right, go ahead. 3rd grade summer camp is something that we address in the plan, what the curriculum that we use, the dates, who gets invited, all of that good stuff. You all know that any student scoring a level 1 on the end of year 3rd grade FAST is invited to come to that. Including those students who may have a good cause exemption, everyone is still invited if they score a level 1. So that's happening in the summer, and the dates are June 3rd through June 28th. On the next slide, you'll see, though, we also invite other students to summer camp, not just 3rd graders. So that's going to be true again this year. Struggling students typically are those who are invited. On the middle of the high school side, it has a lot to do with course recovery or retrieval, but on the elementary front, looking to give those students some remedial time if possible. All right, go ahead. And then last but not least, the Read at Home plan is something that's a part of it that we have to send home with all students, and also encouraging the New Worlds Reading Initiative, which is the books that are coming out. If a family's eligible, they get a free book every month. Levy County kids are signing up for that pretty pretty readily. We even have some families that are trying to sign up who kids are not eligible because they are proficient readers, but they would really like to see books in their home still. So I tell them to sign up, and then UF can say they're not eligible, is my take on that. We have quite a few Levy families that are signed up for that. I think that's the last slide. So I put Jamie Hanlon's email on here as the contact for the CERC moving forward. She's aware of that. I asked her permission first, because this will be my last time presenting this to you all as I transition into a new role. But it's been my privilege to serve as the district literacy coordinator for the last 4 years. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
You've done a wonderful job.
Thank
the
you.
past 4 years.
Thank
too.
you.
Good job, Heather.
Mrs. Shuey gave a shout out for the U-Fly program. I was talking to her the other day, and
Yes.
she said she saw great strides with that program.
I'm really excited when we looked at the data, I'm excited for our first grade teachers to get to teach this year's kindergartners. Because I think first grade is just, gosh, they just, so the scope of what they have to cover is just so massive in that grade level, that I'm really excited for them to get these kids. Because these kids are ready, I feel like, to tackle what first grade is up against. So I think the data coming out, I'm really excited to see the data coming out of first grade next year. I think it's going to be excellent. Based off of how far we've pushed this year's kindergartners. I'm really excited about that. So,
Any other questions?
We're reading, so it's awesome.
I do need a motion to approve this plan.
Yes, please.
Motion to approve, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Now I'd ask Miss Oberst to come forward.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
So I'm coming to you today shortly after we approved the policy last month. The Department of Agriculture contacted me and they want to add the summer food service program. They want a separate policy. And I asked them, instead of having a separate one, since everything was basically the same except for a few amendments to follow, if we could just add it into the one we just approved, and they approved that. So you'll just see a few edits in there as to what we have to refer, and then adding the word summer food service program. With that, I'd like your permission to re-advertise to get that going.
Wow.
Make motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Oberst. Mr. Lott.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So I bring before you proposed changes in our student code of conduct. And just to remind the board that process, all of these changes came either from statutory changes or from suggestions from the school. And actually, I think one of these changes came from the board itself previously, some clarification. So we'll quickly go through the changes only. And you see there's a little table of contents on those. Some of this is just date changes and so forth. On page 10, we get to a change in student code of conduct in regard primarily to social media and the impact that social media can have on our schools. And we've discussed that and implications possibly on freedom of speech and how that could be a difficult road to navigate, but I feel confident that we can do that. And certainly social media has become more and more of an issue for our schools, and so that gives us a little teeth to discipline students who use social media to no good and disrupt our educational process. And please stop me along the way if you have questions, but I'll motor through this if there are none, okay? On page 15, we added some language there in regard to bus conduct and discipline. These suggestions came from our Director of Transportation, Joe Wayne, just to try to help his bus drivers as they deliver our students to school. And then those continue over on page 16. In regard to participation in extracurricular activities, we had a request from the schools to kind of clarify exactly the differences between extracurricular probation and suspension. And you'll see that language has been clarified more distinctly as to what those parameters are and what it would mean for our students.
I did have a question on that. I know like the unexcused absence. So if you miss a week of school for being sick, but you won't go to the doctor, you just, you're out sick, and that person is on probation and can practice but cannot participate. I give an example. My daughter Mabry, she was out about 3 weeks ago for a week of school, and so she's in cheerleading, so she'd be on probation, wouldn't be able to cheer at the game. She'd be able to practice but not cheer. Is that how that's read?
Well, I think that would depend on what they defined as unexcused absence.
Because I know back during
Excused
COVID, back when they would send the kids home for exposure, and I know I was a little aggravated because then like Tucker missed like 6 days of school because of exposure, and then we got the letter saying he is in jeopardy of missing more than 9 days in a 9-week period because he missed like 2 other days, and I'm like, y'all told us to go home.
Right.
And how's that unexcused when you tell us to go home? So I just don't want situations like that can occur that's going to jeopardize some of this stuff.
But if you'll see a little bit farther down below there, we also have a 4 periods mandatory that a student, to participate in anything, they should be at school 4 periods. So,
Right.
but yes, sir. So no, we're that's one of the reasons why we made the adjustment that we made in the spring of 21. So contact tracing. So
Okay.
yes, sir.
All right.
Mr. Lott, based on this same verbiage, where at the school level is this going to be kept track of? Like, is it the dean? Is it the coaches?
I think it depends on the staff that are available at the school. It could be an athletic director, which in many of our schools, that's where this falls to.
Okay.
Obviously extracurricular applies to more than athletics, and so it may be FFA sponsors, for example, or other clubs. The schools tend to rely heavily on those sponsors or athletic directors to keep track of all this, because it is a daunting task.
It seems like it would be. Okay.
And really, these unexcused absences refer to out-of-school suspension. So
Right.
that's a good portion of what we're talking about, well, students are being punished.
Okay. That's all.
And 17 continues from that same clarification. On 19, there was a suggestion from school admin in regard to headgear, and apparently there were some apparently some new devices that kids are taking advantage of with hoodies that actually have a device within the string on the hoodies where they can vape without anyone really being aware of it. Yes.
So hoodies can't, hoodies are
So
not
the
being worn
hoodie
anymore.
needs to be off the head.
Okay, so not the whole jacket, just the hoodie
Right.
part of it? Okay, I read the whole hoodie had to be.
And,
Not that it's a bad
it
thing.
could potentially interfere with any kind of video surveillance, and identifying kids, so,
Yeah.
that was the suggestion from our school admin. Continuing on with dress code, I just added some statutory language. That language is actually dictated by the state statute, so I added that.
So if they wear a hoodie, a regular hoodie, I mean, there's absolutely no allowance for any of that, correct, per this?
Not up.
It's the hood, that's
Not
why I
the
got.
Just the hood on
the
top, or
Yeah,
the,
hood on top.
just
That's
the
all.
hood?
Just the hood.
They can wear the hoodie, they just can't
Sure.
have it on their head.
Right.
Okay.
Some of these
I'm
kids,
confused about
especially in
that.
Florida, that's the extent of their winter wear or hoodies, so
I know.
we, we didn't feel the need to outlaw those. We don't want kids getting cold, but it does, the actual headgear portion is inside is what we wanted to address.
there a certain degree of temperature though? Because I know some of them wear it all the time, and you could be, I mean, you wearing a hoodie in 90-degree weather, you're probably up to something.
Could be. On page 23, that actually came as a suggestion from the board in regard to really clearly defining restroom changing facility violations. And again, that came about from Florida statute 553.865, known as the Safety in Private Spaces Act. So we wanted to, we had previously added some language in order to meet some timelines. So this is us drilling down a little more distinctly to address those concerns.
Thank you. I'm really glad to see that, and I sure hope that'll help with administration and with some of these major issues that we've had expulsions.
And there's the one part of that where it says one person in a restroom stall, that came from school admin. That apparently is an issue that they're having more than one in a stall, which they're typically up to no good there. So that portion came from school admin. On 27, we had an issue. Again, this is a school admin request to address that and to sort of expand what we had originally to include, we had pictures, but also videos and audio recordings. Apparently, recording someone on your phone had become an issue, and then students trying to use that for no good. So we've kind of expanded the scope of that at the request of school admin. On page 30, again, was a school admin request. We had a situation earlier this year, actually, where a student had refused to allow a search, and we took the stance that if you're not allowing a search, then that must be an extreme example of something that you shouldn't have had. And so we just sort of put that verbiage in that, so that that refusal to search, and we also documented that on page 42. Refusal is a level 4 offense, which jeopardizes the safety and security of the school campus, and the consequences could include expulsion. On 57, we just had some changes in staff. Tammy Lemaster is new assistant principal at Bronson Middle High School. There's a typo there. We've corrected that. It's Lemaster and not Lenaster. Obviously, Mr. Webb is leaving Cedar Key, and we'll have a new dean there that's yet to be determined. And as Ms. Rollins indicated earlier, she's our new assistant principal at Chiefland Elementary, so we've added her. And there's one that should have been read that's not as, because she wasn't on the previous version. Miss Leah Boyd at Williston Middle High School is a new assistant principal as well. Page 59, Darby Allen is our coordinator of MTTS, and we've addressed that on page 59. And on page 60, a school admin request. We had a situation earlier in the year in which there was a public instance where kids were performing a play, I believe it was, or some performance, and parents were allowed to come in to watch the play, and one of the parents videoed the performance and then shared that on social media. And another parent whose student was in the performance objected because she did not want her child to be on social media. But we had no control over what a parent does at a public performance, and so we wanted to document that. So if there are no further questions, we would ask for approval of the changes so that we can get it to the printer and get these things ready for our students when they return next school year.
Do I hear a motion?
I make motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Lott. Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, sir. FSBA's asked us to accelerate this timeline. So we're looking for advocacy member and alternate. So that person fills into the old legislative position when they retitled it advocacy representative. So looking for a representative to replace Mrs. Boyle, and then one to replace the alternate for Ms. Brookins for the next school year.
Are there any volunteers?
Well, since neither myself or Ms. Boyle will be available to do that, then it has to be somebody that's here.
I'll be an alternate.
I was about to say I'll be an alternate.
I said
Cameron
first.
is looking like you. I make
It's
the
not
motion-
looking like me.
I make the motion
It's
to
not.
nominate Cameron Asbell.
Cameron Asbell does not
Second.
take the job.
Have you done it before?
Long, long time ago.
Devin, how about, you haven't had that opportunity
I'm
I
yet.
figured I'd be
terrible.
alternate, and then
I'm
I could sit
terrible
there
at it.
working into the.
I'm terrible at it.
The only
Okay.
reason I'm not stepping up is because my son will be a senior, and I know my limits for next year.
Okay, Devin,
Sorry,
it's
Devin.
looking like, I make
I
the
think-
motion to nominate Devin Whitehurst for the representative.
We have a
We already did all the math before
nomination.
she was second.
We have a nomination, doesn't require a second.
Oh,
Oh.
Do we need, or if
And
there are
it-
no further nominations, I will accept the motion that nomination cease.
And I also make the nomination
Wait,
for-
we're not done with that.
Oh, okay.
Are any further nominations? Any further? All right, so nominations cease. By default, congratulations, Mr. Whitehurst.
Congratulations.
Now we seek an alternate. Do you have a strong recommendation that you would like to
I
nominate there?
do, Miss Unclemency, I think that
I
she would be
think
a
she
great
would-
alternative.
If there are no further nominations, we'll stop there too. So if everybody's okay with this, our new representatives will be Mr. Whitehurst primary and our alternate will be Mrs. Clemens.
Thank you, they'll do a
That
fabulous
was, you
job.
did a great job and y'all are gonna do wonderful. I'm here to
Looking forward-
support you
looking
any
forward
way I
to
can. All right.
Thank you for all the support.
There we go. Yeah, all right. At this time,
You better thank Ashley for that
Mr.
support there.
Superintendent, you have more business for us.
Yes, sir. So if you'll see there, so we have the school visits planned out for next school year with that. So, and just wanted to bring that to your attention, so, and go ahead and adopt that.
All right. Do I hear a motion concerning the school board visits, the school visits?
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. At this time, we'll open the floor for any public comments at this time. Now's your chance. You too. Nothing? No? Okay. All right, moving on. Our minutes have been postponed to our next meeting, and we'll move to our consent agenda. We'll start with Miss Brookins. Miss Brookins, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Cowart's answered and gone over everything thoroughly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Whitehurst?
Superintendent, answer all my questions.
Ms. Clemency?
All my questions were answered.
Mrs. Boyle?
if this is probably for Mr. Lott, on the dual enrollment articulation agreement, did they by chance give any thought process as to why they were just going to have Williston? And how did that affect the other schools for the dual enrollment? Did it take away a lot?
Had a minimal impact. Originally, it was a long, drawn-out ordeal, and Mr. Cowart had to get involved in this. We had to request a meeting with their president and the other powers that be. And originally, they were pretty hard line about not allowing our teachers to teach dual enrollment. They said that they had done it also in Marion and Citrus. We met with them, explained the difficulties in particular with Williston because of the geographical location to their Levy campus and inability of our students to be able to access those classes. And so out of that, they agreed to let Williston use their own teachers. They have a long history and have some excellent teachers that are teaching those classes and have an excellent success rate, which they looked at before approving these particular classes. So Mr. Coward may have some other comments, but we felt good that they worked with us a little. That was not our original request, but it was kind of where we met.
Okay. Is it the collegiate academy
so-
that is kicking off, driving this?
The Marion and Citrus, so specifically Marion, so has gone to the Collegiate Academy, where Marion, so 9th and 10th grade students, they do their regular core classes there, but everything dual enrollment is online and virtual. And so it was their ask that the three agreements mirror each other, and they were gracious enough to grant us the 4 periods at Williston Middle High School because of the geographical time frame and losing more than one class period. Our Chiefland students have the ability to go to the Levy campus there, and this year the only class that we had on campus, left on campus, was College Success, and they're transitioning that to a blended model. So with that, so that's where we had there. Citrus obviously has a center in Lecanto, so that students get bused to there in Citrus. So, and then obviously we work with the Davis Center through Bronson. So it was really the idea of trying to ensure that the Williston students still had an opportunity, because our Chiefland students, so with this year, it had not been an adverse effect, so.
Will we be able to maybe get some of the younger kids? Is that gonna make them lose on dual enrollment, or they're just gonna have to buckle down and?
I don't see
Can we
any,
listen to
I don't
them?
see any impact on us losing, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
We
Thank you.
did express our concerns, that in-person, face-to-face. We continue to ask for the Levy campus to increase their opportunities there. Their comments, they've had a restructuring at the Levy campus, with leadership. And so Leah Gamble is now over the Levy campus, along with Dr. Lauder, who is over Citrus and Levy. But we also had some very, very productive conversations over the sharing of our Perkins Rural Grant, of which Ms. Taylor was able to negotiate more favorable terms for Levy County. So all in all, I would say this was a win for Levy County. So across the board, we did have to give up the concession of on campus at Chiefland, but that was being taught by Crystal Skelly. So she was coming 1 day a week, and that's the transition in that College Success class, and trying to help them understand that 1 day a week to come, and then when that leaves with the open, so with it going to a blended model, so we'll still be able to facilitate that there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Asper.
All my questions were answered. I would like to say congratulations and wish a great retirement to my lifelong friend Katrina Strong. To drive a bus for 31 years is impressive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drive one for 1 day. So to do it 31 years is pretty good. With that being said, I will now accept the motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll now move on to the finance agenda. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the finance.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will, just to kind of point out a couple things on that consent agenda. So kudos to Ms. Young, bringing somebody back. So you saw Kelly Sig, so who had served in this district for a number of years and left us and is coming back, so from that district. So kudos to Ms. Young, and we're happy to have Ms. Sig back there. So, and then I see, this Lemaster's coming to us. Ms. Lemaster comes to us from Lee County. She served the last I believe, 6 years as a principal at an A school, and we went through the process of interviewing. So Miss Bray, she was Miss Bray's top pick, and so we're excited to get her up here, up to Levy County soon. And with that, we've had 3 of our 4 graduations. So, and I won't steal thunder from you guys, but I think each one is unique in its own way, and each one shows the uniqueness of our communities, but just really shows the hard work that our staff put into our kids. I think nothing is more evident whenever you see the amount of staff that come to a graduation, and you see people getting hugs, you see former staff that come, and how invested our kids are. Education in Levy County is not stopped when a kid graduates. We truly are invested in our kids' future, and I believe the future is very, very bright in Levy County, and the people in the back of the room are the reason why that future is bright. So kudos to them and their hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Mrs. Brookins? any comments?
I just echo the graduations. I think they were just a real highlight, a real treat. They are inspiring. I'm so proud of those students and their future and what they're going to do. I know the schools are all looking forward to the end of the year and the summer and end of the year parties, and that's exciting, and I'm happy for all them, and I think it's going to be a great summer, and everybody will be ready and inspired to go back in August. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Whitehurst?
Enjoyed the Wilson graduation Friday night. I'm glad Bronson Eagle didn't take away the thunder as he claimed he might.
I chose to be back.
He stayed in the stands, so, but it was very nice, like I said, accumulation of all the hard work of these students of, now going into adulthood and, all the accolades that, all the different standing for this GPA or this scholarship, and it's just, it really shows you these kids are really, from a 3.5 and above, I think it's probably half the class, it felt like. I don't know if it was, but it felt like that from just the audience. And a lot of hard work of teachers really getting these kids ready to, have a good, life, setting them up either for, military or, going to a trade or going to college. So I was proud of what we do in Levy County and all the hard work by administration and staff. So, like I said, had a couple awards. I think Wilson Elementary actually was this morning. So that should wrap up all the academic awards for all the schools in Williston, and it was a good year, and my kids, along with a lot of teachers and everybody else, looking forward to something. Thank you.
And we got trophies to collect in June at the state convention as well.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, that's right.
We'll skip over Miss Clemency for right now. Ms. Boyle?
I echo the graduations, and Cedar Key is special too, seeing going to pre-K and kindergarten and watching those little ones and how far they have come to even the pre-K, standing there and singing 2 full songs, with just on their own. It was great. And it always gets me every time, but during Cedar Key, because it's so small, the students go and present a flower to their families, and I don't think there's a dry eye in the place. It's just special. It's just very kind. I know they're down there gearing up for testing, so that's taking place now, and staff lunch will be on the 30th after the kids leave and the teachers get to relax a little bit. And Mrs. Lauren Adams had her little boy yesterday. So, and everybody's doing well. And looking forward to summer break. And that's all I have.
Outstanding, thank you. I have a couple things, and I'll talk slow to give Ashley time, but I'm usually very brief with what I have to say. So, I was fortunate in that Saturday morning I was unable to go to Cedar Key's graduation because I had a fancy graduation to go to in Ocala. My niece graduated from a very exclusive private school. I tell you this for a reason. Private school in Ocala, where they have a tradition of excellence in education, and they love their children, and their children are just destined to be, everyone's going to be a doctor, a lawyer, and change the entire world. So when that class of 185 graduated in 90 degrees. First of all, the exclusive fancy school doesn't have sense enough to graduate at night on a football field. We're going to do that at noon. That's where the smart people go to school. All right, but the second part of this, and I am proud of Levy County for this, you know what they did not do? I could not tell you who the valedictorian, the salutatorian, the top 10 of that class was. Don't have a clue. But I know this. Every one of Levy County schools, we recognize who our valedictorian is, who our salutatorian is. We recognize this school didn't do this. We recognize who's going into the military, because we're proud of that. Who's going into workforce, who's going to vocation. We're proud of that. But the big thing, and I've had to listen to how great those educations everywhere but Levy County is. If you're a Levy County school board member and you go somewhere, it will irritate you to no end when someone says, I went to Bronson, what you expect? I went to Williston, what you expect? Well, I expect pure excellence. Because I go to these graduations, you know, in every one of our schools, we have kids going from our schools to the University of Florida, to the University of Miami, Florida State University, Yale, Harvard, all these places. You know how many kids at that fancy, costs a lot of money, this is where the smart people go to school. How many kids are going to the University of Florida in that graduating class? None. How many are going to Yale? None. And that's a really good school. We are an upper echelon education system. We just forget to remind people that we are. Now, that being said, y'all have seen the other graduations. Tonight is the graduation in Levy County. And I will tell you one thing if you come that you will see. You will see an old fat man cry. Because there's people in this room that have helped this kid get out of school, and I appreciate you. It's been struggle, it's been fight. And if any kid has worked hard to graduate, it's him. And I have had a good time with my children because, as I pointed out to all three of mine, Dad was the only one that graduated first in his class. Nothing to do with grades, it was just the A. Now, I would like to ask another question. This is actual school board question. I was called this past week by a parent, and some of y'all may remember when I did this. I did a little thing where we got Guardian helmet covers for our football players at Bronson. Did it privately through donations, bought those. This person called me and said, how'd you do that? And I said, well, I explained the process. She said, no. When I asked how you did that, I'm asking because I was told by the school that the school board had a policy that they could not buy those. And I said, well, I'm on the school board, and I don't remember voting for that. And I do remember when I raised money, I had school board members that gave money to that. So but I did also say, I was like, if you think back about a year ago, I kind of missed a few meetings because of sickness. Do we have a policy that we won't allow a booster club to buy a nationally recognized piece of safety equipment that's only produced one place, that's used throughout every level of
Booster Club?
a booster club could not buy it? Okay, so this leads to...
Give me the information.
I will give you the information, but this leads to my other thing here. I have no problem being the big bad wolf. I have no problem looking at anybody and going, yep, I voted to not allow that. And I've said this before. I get sick and tired of being the scapegoat. Okay? People out in the public don't know what school board members do. You don't really know what a school board member does until you become a school board member. We don't have any say-so in what your kid gets taught. I can't fire and hire people, but I can vote on policies and budget. So how many times have I heard coming from school, oh, school said y'all did that. School said the school board did that. We ain't done that. I don't have a problem when it's something we did. Yeah, we voted not to pay for that. No problem. But I am bad over. Every time somebody don't want something done, it being said, the school board did that. And especially when I'm sitting at a game or I'm sitting at a play, y'all voted that? No, I don't know anything about what you're talking about. I don't know if y'all get that, but I get that.
It happens all the time.
I don't mind being the bad guy, and I'm sure y'all don't mind either because that's part of the job. But don't lay something on me I didn't do. That was my point of that. I knew we did not have such a policy, and I knew no one here would have a problem with protecting children. Especially now on that, if anybody wants to know anything about the Guardian Helmet Program, I'll gladly talk to you about it, and I will tell you this in Bronson, Florida. before we had the Guardian helmets, we had over 20 concussions in 1 year. The very first year of implementing those Guardian helmets, we had no concussions.
Yay.
And as far as I'm concerned, brains are important. As a person with a child that's missing a little brain, which he is, brains are important. So I think that's all I have. Ms. Clemency will fill us in next time. If there's no further business at this time, our meeting is, would you like to tell us about this, Mr. Cowart? We received a certificate of recognition.
So this came from the Chiefville Middle High School FFA, so this is a certificate, so for us supporting them through the school year and supporting their fair animals, so.
Thank you, Mr. Asbell.
No, it's been my joy and pleasure, and hope y'all don't have to put up with this again for a long, long time. And no further business, we'll adjourn to executive session.